Hello, we are in Bologna today. It's winter, so it's a little cold, and you might see a little bit of a Christmassy theme to the streets. We're in the hotel at the moment. We got a quite nice view of the two main towers over there. Bologna is famous for its old towers. You got them like all throughout the city. We'll go a little bit more in depth later, but now I'll just go over the history of the city and then we'll go into the streets and see some attractions. So I decided to split this into two different videos. So I've got a separate one going over the whole history of Bologna, the city, and this one we will just look at the history of specific monuments and buildings inside the city. It's been estimated that between the 12th and the 13th century, Bologna had as many as 180 towers, and it could have even been more. But as the 13th century went on, many of these towers were taken down or demolished, and others simply collapsed. The surviving ones were later utilized in different ways, serving as a prison, a city tower, shops, or residential buildings. No more than 20 towers remain in Bologna today, and the most famous of them are these two towers. Construction of these towers began between 1109 and 1119 during the High Middle Ages. They are located in the center of the city at an intersection of the roads that lead to the 5 old gates of Bologna. The taller tower is called Asinelli, and the smaller tower is called Garisenda, and they are named after the families who are credited to have constructed them. And it's worth noting that all these towers that were constructed in Bologna originally had the purpose of showing the wealth of a certain family. So families would build towers to show how wealthy they were, and the taller the tower, the more prestige they had. It also should be noted that due to the scarcity of the documents from the time of construction, the origins of these two towers as well as the names that they have been given might not have been 100% accurate. For example, the name Asinelli, which the taller tower is named after, did not appear in records in Bologna until 1185, which is almost 70 years after the construction of the tower, which allegedly was named after them. The Asinelli Tower is taller, but the shorter Garisenda, which stands at about 48 meters, has a more visible lean, overhanging by about 3.2 meters. Originally, both towers were about the same height, between 60 and 70 meters. But when the Garisenda Tower started to lean, its height was reduced in the 14th century, now standing at about 48 meters. The Asinelli Tower, on the other hand, had its height extended to about 97 meters. In the 14th century, the tower was taken over by the city and they transformed it into a prison and a small stronghold. During this period, a wooden construction was added around the tower at a height of about 30 meters above the ground, which was also connected by a footbridge to the Garisenda Tower. This footbridge, however, was destroyed in a fire in 1398. So I also decided to climb the tower, and of course, as you'll see at the top, I picked the worst day for it, because you have to pre-book the tickets in advance. And I happened to book it for just the one day where it was really foggy and raining during our trip. But yeah, here we are climbing the tower. You can see it's in sections. You can see the floor of the next one up there. So there's a few of these sections in the tower. By that I mean like floor, set of stairs, then another floor. At the moment we've done one set of stairs. There's the next floor above us. It is quite a workout. They are wooden stairs still, but they're supported by metal bits for safety. This is the third section. There's about 4 or 5, I believe, of these different sections. This one is smaller than the one before. You can already see a little bit outside of the window here. Still very foggy. There's also a hole next to it. I thought maybe we can see some better angles of here. But no, yeah. You can't really see much at the moment. This is the last section. Oh no, the second to last section. And up there is the top. Here you have a bigger window. You already see the view. This is the final section, so this is right below the very top, the outside of the tower. But you already have a nice window over here with a good view. But of course we'll just go up to see the top of the view over here. So here we have what would have been a very nice view of the surrounding area. I'm in Bologna, if it wasn't so foggy. But yeah, this used to be a prison at one point, this whole tower. So that would have been pretty scary to be locked up here so high above the city. I think there used to be a lot more floors as well. I'm not sure, but I imagine if this was a prison it would have probably been one cell per floor. And they probably would have had more floors, I would imagine. But yeah, over there was the view towards the center. You have the square on the top left there and then the main road here. It's also nice to just walk around the city because there's a lot of old buildings that, as you can see over here. And also, as you can see, there's a bit of a festive mood at the moment because we went in the Christmas period. Bologna has also a lot of these porticos, the covered walkways as you see over here. And yeah, they're quite nice as well. They got like marble flooring and the city itself, just to walk around, is quite nice. So this is Bologna's main square. This is where most of the buildings are, which we will talk about in this video. And they were also doing a fire presentation kind of training exercise on here that day as well. Also, this little area is a small street where they do a lot of like artisanal foods from the area. This is the Palazzo Re Enzo. It was built between 1244 and 1246 as an extension to an earlier palace that stood here, which became insufficient for the massive participation of the people that wanted to participate in the city's government. And thus, to increase capacity, this palace was built as an extension. The palazzo is named after Enzo of Sardinia, the son of Frederick II, King of Sicily. Enzo was a prisoner here from the year 1249 until his death in 1272. Over here we have the Palazzo da Curzio. This palazzo was originally constructed as a residence for Accursius in the 13th century, and over time it was incorporated and expanded. The building we see today is now used as the city's town hall as well as being home to the civic art collection. The Basilica of San Petronio is the 6th largest church in Europe. It's located in the center of Bologna and it is the largest and most important church in the city. The Basilica of San Petronio was not intended as a church, but rather, as the original name of basilica suggests, a public space or a civic temple, because the word basilica in ancient Rome referred to a building where official and public functions took place. The project was approved by the local city council in 1388, when Bologna was a commune proud of its independence, and this construction project was meant to highlight the city's prestige, as well as glorify the figure of Petronius. 2 years later, in 1390, construction began under the supervision of Antonio di Vincenzo. And it's worth mentioning that the property of the basilica was not transferred from the city to the diocese until 1937, and the church was not consecrated until 1954. There are no surviving plans of the original project by Di Vincenzo, but in 1514 there was an extension and renovation project, and Arjuno di Gil Arriguzzi was chosen to head this project. A model of his design still survives today, and it would have seen it roughly double in size with a big dome being added in the center. However, these plans would create a church that would outdo St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. And it was rumored that Pope Pius IV halted this construction project, and in 1562 the Catholic Church ordered the construction of the Arciginesio instead, which was the first official seat of the University of Bologna. They ordered it to be built on the space adjacent to the basilica, so the new plans for the reconstruction of the church had to be downsized. As you might have seen already, the exterior of the basilica was never finished. You can get a glimpse of what it might have looked like from the front-facing facade, where a part of the marble has been added, but not fully. In later ages, a lot of other plans were drawn up to finish the exterior of the basilica, but sadly these never came to fruition. Probably the most famous event to take place in the basilica was the coronation of Charles V as Holy Roman Emperor by Pope Clement VII, which took place on February 24th of the year 1530. This event attracted thousands of people to the city, and at the time Bologna was the most important city in the Papal States, after Rome that is. Another less famous event that took place in the basilica was the Council of Trent, specifically the sessions that were held here in 1547 and 48. The University of Bologna is believed to have been established in 1088 and is widely considered the oldest university in continuous operation. We also went to visit a museum that is part of the modern-day university. And if you're interested in that, it will be up as a Patreon exclusive video shortly. All my Patreon exclusive videos are available from the $1 tier, so if you're interested you can check out the link in the description or click on the Patreon card at the end of the video. I also wanted to mention, Bologna has a surprising amount of dogs. I feel like there's not any other city that can kind of beat the amount of dogs that I've seen in my time in Bologna. For example, here are the fire or the police dogs for that exercise. But yeah, as you can see from all of these clips that I'm showing on screen right now, there's tons of dogs here just walking around. There's even this guy who's making a sand sculpture of a dog. Yeah, there's just dogs everywhere, like you can see all around here. Well, it is a busy day because of that show performance of the firemen and the police people. But it was like every day there were tons of dogs around. So yeah, if you love dogs and love Bolognese sauce, Bologna is a fun place to visit. And look, they're even rescuing a dog from the building as an exercise for the firemen. And yeah, to end the video, I just want to say Bologna, it was a great city to visit. Lots of history, lots of great food, and a lot of dogs as well. So I can't see any cons there. If you're interested in learning more about the actual history of the city itself, you can check out the video I did last week, in which I cover the history of Bologna from prehistory to modern day. I want to thank my patrons for their support, and especially my $15 patrons G. David and Parker Dye.